Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man walaha ma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. Alright, we're moving along. I'm going to teach you how to do an RPM. RPM. RPM stands for Result, Purpose, and MAP, which is Massive Action Plan. An acronym for that. So you got an acronym in an acronym. RPM on a car, if you understand like an RPM, you have two dials on your car. A lot of people look at the speed of their car, but they don't understand what the RPM is doing. The RPM is revolutions per minute, which is how fast your tires are spinning. So if you have, for example, when you put the car in neutral and you go and you just press on the gas, you go and the RPMs, and then in the olden days, then they would put it into drive when the RPM is at like 5 or something like that. The tires are already like at full blast. Then the car like zooms off. I don't know. I don't do stuff like that, but for those who understand, RPM is how quickly you're gonna move. So some person might say to me, we have like say Discover Your Life, the website, or things that related to life coaching, and a person will say, I don't need a life coach. I can get things done on my own. Obviously you can. You wouldn't be human if you couldn't do things on your own. But you'll do things on your own at an RPM of 1. How would you like to do things at an RPM of 6? Meaning that you get it done, but it's much faster. So I don't tell people that if you don't have a life coach, you'll never succeed in life. That's not true. It just takes a lot longer because you have to deal. It takes longer. You have to deal with issues as they come, and you have to figure it out. Self-help on your own. Back when we were asking the questions, the primary questions, you're gonna have to ask yourself those questions. You're gonna have to hold yourself accountable, and that just takes a longer period of time. With the RPMs, you start moving more quickly to your destination. So the first thing, as you see there, everything in the RPM is essential. There's nothing that, if you skip out, you're going to be missing a slice. And in the beginning, you might not understand the effect of missing out on it, but as time goes by and you become more effective, you're going to see that if I miss out on my purpose, or I miss out on focusing on the result, each one of them has consequences, right? So I'm telling you, hopefully you understand that you can't miss out on anything. Actually, as I'm talking here, I'd like to take a footnote tangent. Okay? So basically, like, stop. I'm going to take a footnote tangent. I'm going to tell you that everything that I'm telling you is a box. What that means is, don't think that this is life. So I made a life wheel. Your life doesn't revolve around that wheel. It's just a tool. And you're more complex, and there's more to your life than just a wheel. So don't think, oh, but my life wheel said this, and my horoscope said that, and your whole life. It's just a box. So don't get yourself boxed in. I found in these years of developing myself, I would listen to somebody, take their words as like revelation, and then later on it messed me up. And then I think to myself, you know what? It wasn't even true. It was just a box I had put myself in, and anyhow. On these slices of life, I'll give you an example of it being a box. I did not put dawah up there. Dawah as in calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you just stuck to that life wheel, you might have a life that might be like unrelated to contributing to others. If I put dawah up there and took out social life, then you would, for example, be, doing speeches, organizing events and stuff like that, and you would have no social life. If I put, 12 slices, then you'd get overwhelmed. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just a tool with its limitations. If it works for you, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't work for you, move on to another tool. I told you earlier about the primary questions. When we were talking about the primary questions, and I said I figured out a problem that I had with it, but the solution, I didn't rewrite my question. I just used a different tool. The different tool was, it's like about writing stories about your life. Anyways, it's a tool where, I'm not really going to explain it here. I'm just tantalizing you a little bit. And if you come to life coaching certification, I'll explain more about it, inshallah ta'ala. It's a brilliant, most effective tool that one of the most effective tools I see. And it's as simple as this. This is the concept that you're living out a story in your mind. You have a story of how your life should be. you write down again and again and again what your current story is, truthfully, and then you rewrite it. You write out your story. My story is I was a man who did this and did that. And you write out and then you rewrite that. I've written mine out maybe 7 times. Each time adjusting and editing it until it gives me like the new story and the old story. And so if that was my old story that I needed people's love or I need to achieve things to get people's love, then I wrote like a new story of what my life is like and I'd write it out. But anyway, that's the technique. Maybe some other time we'll go in detail about it. RPMs. Back to the RPM. Okay, so it's just a tool. If it works for you, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't, try something else, inshallah ta'ala. This RPM, when I said earlier that you're going to pancake things, this ultimately is the pancaking tool. It takes a person's busy life and pancakes it into what you're actually trying to achieve. There was a question earlier where someone said, should my goal be to, lose X amount of pounds, or should my goal be to work out 4 times a day? That's a great question, and the RPM is going to explain that right now. So let's go to, for example, back to Noor, when he said that he had 4 things that he was going to do. So he was going to get a personal trainer, personal trainer. One was commit myself to not eating while on the trip. And what else? Okay, not eating out. And making a schedule of working out while traveling, okay? So those are 4 things. Each one of them is not really the result. So the personal trainer, for example, the goal is not to pay a personal trainer. So if that was the result, basically what Noor would do is say, I'd like to pay you $2,000, here you go. Yes! Does anybody think like that? So getting the personal trainer isn't the result. Even eating out or not eating out isn't the result, because what if there's a restaurant that can cook better foods than you cook at home and can make you more healthier than how you eat at home? So then eating out would be the option. Even I told people, get people to make meals for you as a way of automating. I did the exact opposite, because there's a result that you're looking for, and the result is, a person may say that before, my I was going to say birthday, but before this upcoming, let's suppose someone's getting married, or they just got married and it's going to be an anniversary or something like that when they're going to pay zakat on their gold or so on, and then they'll say that by this time I'm going to lose X amount of pounds. So now they have a specific goal is to lose X amount of pounds. Now, is that really the result? Here's something interesting, because is losing the weight the result? For a lot of people it is. Here's something interesting. Why do you want to lose the weight? So that you can look good, for example. Okay? Or you want to lose weight to be energetic. Can you look good without losing the weight? Can you? Are you sure? Or just fat people are doomed to look ugly all the time? And then I said, if the goal is to look good, try this. Buy clothes that fit. Okay? Because I noticed this, one person, let's suppose someone's 300 pounds and someone else is 220 pounds. The person who's 220 pounds, their goal is to weigh 180. The person who's 300 pounds, their goal is to weigh 220. So I'm like, this other person, you are their goal. They're trying to be you. And you already have it, but everybody's looking to the other person. The person with straight hair wants curly hair. The person with curly hair wants straight hair, right? Okay, so if the goal is to look good, you can have that right now. By respecting yourself, by getting a haircut, by wearing clothes that fit, by, basically grooming yourself and smiling. You can look good. And I'm serious. So you might find big people that are comfortable with themselves, and they don't and they look very confident, and you're very happy, and they're very handsome or very beautiful. Correct? Even though not necessarily, maybe they do have to lose 15 pounds. And then you'll see other people who have lost weight and they look like skeleton, and you see them and you're like, ugh, right? Correct? And if you saw them, they would say, I've achieved my goal. Was that your goal, is to become a skeleton? And to look so sickly, if someone touch you, you fall down and so on and so on. All right, and interestingly, like a personal trainer, when you start training, sometimes the bigger men, they're like their muscles. They weigh a lot. They probably even weigh more than what you currently weigh, and yet they've just shaped their bodies in ways that it's just less fat and more muscle. Anyhow, that's just giving you a glimpse of the result. In my experience with Al Maghrib Institute, someone will say something like, they'll ask me to do something. And the question that I would respond back is, what are you trying to achieve? So someone will say, can you write out these emails for our qabila, for our city? Can I write them out? What are you trying to achieve? We're trying to encourage people to attend an upcoming promotional event, for example. Why? What are you trying to achieve? What's your result? They'd say we'd like to increase the number of people that come out to the classes. I'll give you another example. They want the posters delivered about the class. What's your result so we can get more people coming to the class? If that's your result, and let's say posters were delayed, they weren't delivered on time or something happened, is it possible to get your result, i.e. more people signing up for your class, without having posters? Yeah, you can, but you need flexibility. How else can you do it? And every time you get blocked on one thing, just like the examples, when there's no internet access, when someone's not picking up the phone, when posters aren't coming in the mail on time, can you still get your result? And the answer is yes, you can. And the people who are flexible and coming from different directions, RPM is all about flexibility. You're not trying to complete a to-do list. You're focusing on what are you actually trying to achieve and going directly towards it. So one person one time was telling me he started this business, an Islamic clothing business. What was the purpose of starting an Islamic clothing business? So you could make money. Why? So that we could provide for charitable projects. You went through the whole process of building a clothing industry so that you could donate to a charitable project? Like, does it make sense? I'm like, why don't you just start the charitable project from the beginning? Why don't you just have a fundraiser? You'll make more money than going through this whole loop and all the headaches and so there might be some other reason to doing the project, but don't tell me that in the end that's what it was, because you can go directly there. The closest distance is directly there, right? And then you have flexibility if you get blocked. So let's say this is how an RPM works. Let's bring this a little closer. You've got, for example, you start off your day and you have like a little brain dump of things that you need to do. Someone want me to give you an example of this? Things you need to do for tomorrow? Other than Hazim. Somebody? Mahmoud, you wanna? Okay, things you need to do for tomorrow. Let me know. Okay. So this is, for example, what a typical to-do list would look like. So why don't you write that right now? And I'll give you like 2 minutes. Everybody write down what you got to do for tomorrow. Just brain dump it, things that you need to get done for tomorrow. And now this is the example of like the brain dump, the brain breathe. You're doing it just for tomorrow. Just get things off your head. Things you need to get done for tomorrow. You're just putting it down on paper. All right, you can keep writing. I'm going to now tell you that normally to-do lists, this is where it stops. Okay? Usually if Mahmoud hadn't attended this piece of paper, what would have happened is that he would take that paper maybe with him, or it would be at home on a post-it note or something like that. Some of these things would get done. Maybe the first 3, the documents would get procrastinated and delayed, correct? Yeah, he admits it. I know it, because that's like, I saw that and like, that one's going to get procrastinated. Maybe at the end of the day, because he wrote it down, maybe he'll spend some time with the daughter. Quran will probably get skipped. It might be like not prioritized and stuff. And playing basketball, maybe you'd get the basketball done. Okay? So what you want to do now, this is how the to-do list happens. And the thing is, to-do lists, as they say, they're aliens. Every time you chop one off, like 3 more come up on the to-do list. And your goal is always, remember we said about completion. Human beings like completion. So everybody's always trying to get an empty to-do list. That will never happen. And so life surrounding the to-do list. There is a better life, dear brothers and sisters. This is how you do it though. Let's start blocking them together. Things that are related to each other. So the top 3 are business related. Is that career, career business? Okay, work. Anything else is work? or just these top three. Okay, and then let's group family stuff. Okay, so family stuff. These two are family. This is family. So spending time with the daughter, doing something for your dad. And these two you could say are personal. This is for yourself. You're playing basketball for your physical body, reading Quran, kind of like for spirituality stuff, all right? So personal, family, and work. So he's got three main slices. Now, when it comes to the RPM, what are you actually trying to achieve in your personal life? So reading Quran or playing basketball isn't necessarily what you're trying to achieve. So what are you trying to achieve in your personal life? Yeah, just what's the result? Okay, so to increase my health. See, now you have more flexibility. Do you see what just happened there? When he said he wants to play basketball, then if he doesn't play basketball, then that's it, right? Things get delayed and time runs and stuff like that. Oh, I can't play basketball, and now, I'm not healthy anymore. But when he said, what did you say? To increase health. Okay, so let's say that the playing basketball then becomes increase health. Interesting. How can you increase wealth? Increase health? How can you do it? Give me 3 examples. Things that you can do tomorrow. Playing basketball is one of them. What else? Working out. Okay. What else? Eating better. Awesome. And eating better doesn't take any extra time. What else? How about like drinking water at work? So normally people go to work and they're not going to drink water, but your goal is to increase your health. So having a big 2 liter of water right in front of you while you're working, just sipping all day long, and at break times, going for a walk, parking a little further, not all worried about getting the parking spots so close. You ever notice people who go to a gym are always trying to get parking spots that are close? Like, why are you coming to the gym, man? So you can get on a treadmill for 1 hour, yet you insist on parking right beside. Just park half an hour away and just come to the gym walking. Okay, so increasing health, now he has flexibility. Now, if he starts his day and the result is to increase my health today. Why do you want to increase? That's where the result is to increase health. The purpose is why. And then he, for example, he might say something like, to be a role model for my daughter so that her life doesn't get messed up by my bad example, for example, as a purpose. What would be a purpose? Why would you want to increase your health? Okay, so to have the energy and live the life that I want to. And you can go deeper and deeper into the purpose. Sometimes it's like because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, and anything other than this would be, kind of like ungratefulness for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. Different things like that, okay? So let's say that's increasing health. And so you got your result, which is increasing health. The purpose is, you said? Live the lifestyle that I want, to have the energy to live the lifestyle. And now your massive action plan for net tomorrow would be to work out, eat better, or drink more water, or play basketball. So you've got 4 things. So you start your day, you're starting your day with your result, not with your to-do list. So now, basically, all of these things that are here, this increasing health and family, if we went to family, in his family he might be, for example, to love my family, for example. And with regards to work is to do the best I can do at work every day. So now his to-do list has been reduced to 3 things. To love his family. It doesn't mean, spending time with the daughter. There are many ways of loving your family, such as calling them, even when you're at work. Such as, different things. You can send flowers. You can, write a post-it note for your wife or your daughter before you go to work. It takes like maybe 2 minutes, but they're like, oh, he cares about us. Because your goal wasn't to spend time with the daughter, but the goal was to love your family. Correct? Gives you flexibility. And then when we said, to excel at my work, instead of doing work. Your goal is to excel at work. How can you excel at work? And then you said, well, I can come 15 minutes early. How do I excel at work? Well, I can make sure everything is, the way people expect it, and I over exceed on their expectations. How can you excel at work? Do you see how everything is creating more flexibility? You don't have to do all of those things. So long as at the end of the day, you have excelled at work. So long as at the end of the day, you have loved your family. So long as at the end of the day, you have increased your health. Okay? So that is the how the RPMs work. Yeah, I'll take questions in a second. Let me just rewrite it so you see. So when you do the RPM, you need to put it together like this. In the middle, the reason that you put the result in the middle is because if you did it top to down, like result, purpose, massive action plan, your mind would just automatically scroll to the bottom and focus on the to-do list. And that's not what you want to do. You always want to bring your mind back to what am I actually trying to achieve. So the reason that result is in the middle is so that it looks kind of like a bullseye. That you're not after time with your daughter. That's not the goal. The goal is to love your family. So in the middle it'll say, for example, or in the case of increase your health. Increase health is the result. This is the result. So if I was, when I go for Hajj, for example, my result would be to, I'm just giving you like off the top of my head, would be for every Hajji to go home with a Hajj experience so powerful and amazing that they would wish to come back the next year. Is it measurable? Yes. If the person at the end of Hajj, if I went to the Hajjis and said, would you like to come back next year with our Hajj group? And they said, yes, I would love to. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. I got it. Next person, would you be willing to come back next year with our Hajj group? Yes, yes, yes. And I'm willing that 10% of the people say no, right? Because that's just natural. Obviously, there's going to be complainers and stuff like that. Okay? So that's the result. Now, what do I do to get that result? That's the massive action plan, which is there's multiple ways to get that. Many different ways, but the key thing is you want to first know what are you actually trying to achieve. And then you've got the purpose. The purpose, if you remember in the ultimate vision, if you have enough purpose, sometimes you don't even need to know the result. It's just like you have purpose. If the purpose is there, the example of the person with cancer, if they had cancer, they're going to die unless they get healthy. You know what? They'll find a way. So if before they were making excuses, their purpose became so important, now they'll find a way. The example that I gave of crossing from one building to the other, and I said your family's life is at stake. You don't know how you're going to do it, but you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way. Right? So the purpose is more powerful, and if the purpose isn't there in the beginning, if these are things you care about, then you do have purpose, you just haven't written it down. But guarantee that after you start achieving a couple of things, you've got to get clear about the purpose for the things that start getting a little bit difficult, right? So the purpose you said was to have the energy to live the life that you want. All right, cool. And then the massive action plan, we said, play basketball. Or water. Or work out. Or park far. Or, what's that, housework? Not for Mahmoud. A vacuum. Yeah, and that could increase the family time too. If you told your daughter, let's vacuum together, as long as she's not scared of vacuums and stuff like that. But believe me, like things like that you can start, joining them together. Okay, so now out of these 5 things, back to that 80-20 rule, one of them is going to give you 80% of your, or 1 or 2 of them. And ideally you want to make like a list of 10, but 1 or 2 of them is going to give you 80% of your result. Which one out of these would give you 80% of your result? The workout? So even more than the basketball. Do you agree? Okay. So the workout is your number 1. What's your number 2 then? Okay, so play basketball. So let's rewrite it and put workout at the top. So this is your number one, is the workout. And now the way it works is that tomorrow your goal is to increase your health. If the purpose isn't there, you probably just forget about this. That's why the purpose is important, so that you actually care and go back and do. Sometimes if it's things that are annoying, back to like the sister sending out the email, what will make her do it is her purpose. Because it's like so awkward and it's, there's fear there and stuff like that. Well, why am I actually doing this? I'm doing this because I'm fulfilling this, or my destiny is to do this, or this is what I feel Allah wants me to do, or something like that, right? Or I want, people to be healthy and I want to start a business and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you got the purpose to live the life that you want to live. And then tomorrow you got like this RPM in front of you. And then you'd say, start off with your workout. Ideally, at this point, you want to schedule your workout too. So your workout, you'll do it what time? 7 a.m. in the morning? You have like a gym inside the house? Or are you going to go down? Okay. So 7 a.m. So now it's scheduled. And that is an RPM. If you do this, your life will pancake. And as I said, when it pancakes, there will be very little for you to do. You'll get your results immediately, and that's when you take a 20-hour work day, and you've reduced it to basically 3 points. If you look at back to what you said, this is basically something that would have taken the whole day and would have stressed you out, and trying to spend time with your daughter at 9 o'clock at night or something like that. Now with the workout and all of these things, the workout, how long will that take? Okay, so 45 minutes. To love your family, how long does it take to love your family? A couple of hours, and then they figured out that you here's the thing about with family time, is that it's the quality, not the quantity. So if, for example, let's suppose at this lunch break you went home and it was like very far, and you arrived and you spent 10 minutes with your family, and they knew that you came all this way just so I could see you, just so I can give you a hug, and now I gotta rush back. Did they get the love? Okay, some sisters saying no. Why do you think no? In that same amount of time? For the family, or? Okay, so people understand love in different ways. So if someone, one woman would be like, what if my husband came back and the daughter and they met us for the lunch break? That's love to us. Someone else, like, the dad came back, but dad, did you bring any food? We're hungry, and they're like, who cares if you came back if you didn't bring food? For example. So then, if that was the case, then maybe during his lunch break he could have ordered some pizza and had it sent to the house, for example, and 5 minutes before it arrives, tells his wife, like, surprise, get your wallet out and pay for the Right? But either way it is, you can get that love done. How long would that take? You can organize it in a way that it can only take 15 minutes. Right? Or maximum, let's say an hour. So 1 hour. Again, it's quality engaged time. And then your work, the work is just like during the day, but how long does it take to do ihsan at your work? Sometimes that's just an attitude difference. Right? It's the same work, you just come with a different attitude. Ihsan, like that excellence and perfection that you bring to work. So sometimes the attitude, it doesn't take any extra time. And you got your job done, you're going to do the job anyway. But, the job, that's something different, financial. But let's say to do ihsan takes an just attitude difference. Okay? Attitude, and if you include ihsan being that coming a little early and whatnot, then let's say it takes an extra like half an hour. Half hour. So now you're dealing with about 2.5 hours. 2 and a bit. That your goals for the day can get done in 2.5 hours. Plus your work is from what time to what time? 1 to 7? 1 p.m. to 7 p.m.? Okay, so your work is 6 hours. Equaling, let's say, 9 hours altogether. All your goals done for the day completed in 9 hours. What time are you going to wake up? 7 a.m. for the workout? Before that, 6:30? So if you wake up, let's say 7 a.m., 9 hours later, what time is that? I don't even know. 16:04, 4 o'clock. By 4 p.m., you will be completed everything that you had planned. Everything on this list. Everything is done by 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I know he said 1 to 7, but I'm just telling you, right? We're just reorganizing. Okay? So by 4 p.m., he's done. What do you do from 4 p.m. till what time do you sleep? Okay, so 10, 11 o'clock. So from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., you've got how many hours? 6 hours? Till 10. Okay, so let's say you've got 7 hours. So 4 p.m., that leaves you, based on what we're talking about here, 7 hours. What will you do with the 7 hours? Normally at this point, someone will say, I will watch TV. Or I'll play PlayStation, or I'll disengage. Basically, as I said, if I can pancake your life for you, your problem will be too much extra time. And this seems to be like, if you kept doing this every day and organizing and automating and so on, you'd find that every day you'd be down to like stuff that only takes half an hour. Half an hour, 1 hour, half an hour, 1 hour, and then the rest of the day is just empty. So you just walk around the malls and stuff like that in the middle of the day with nothing to do and so on. Okay, the reason that I didn't tackle the work is because I still think it can be pancaked, but this other stuff can be pancaked immediately. This, I would say, he needs to reorganize what he does for work if he wants to pancake it. So if, for example, if I had this job and I saw that it takes 7 hours of my day, then I would say I would find a way to get someone to work for me so that they can do the work. And then I pancaked it, which is a different strategy, but it still can be pancaked. Or getting assistants or getting volunteers or whatever it is. There are ways to pancake it, but it's not necessarily a one-day pancake. It doesn't work perfectly for this example here. Yes, another question? Of course, no, some things you want to do yourself too. Does he want to delegate spending time with his daughter? No. Okay, so it delegates it to his wife. You spend time. So obviously there will be things you want to do. The main thing is do what you love to do. Decide amongst the things what is it that you love to do, and then spend your life doing the things that you love, and don't let anything get in your way. Right? So this work that he's talking about, it may be what he loves to do or it may not. If it is what he loves to do, I'm happy for him that he's spending 7 hours a day with it. If it's what he wants to spend his life, if this is his legacy that he wants to leave and so on and so forth. So if someone said, I'm a high school teacher, I'd say to them, is this your legacy that you want to live? You know, this is your dream? And they're like, nah, it's just a job. It's just a job. Then I would tell the person, now let's work on pancaking this and getting rid of it, so that you can do what you actually want to do. Nobody wants you to be disengaged. Remember when he said disengaged? Someone was lethargic and a little irritable and, tired and so on and so forth. If you get a teacher like that, they're not going to effectively teach. Imagine if you're going into surgery and your doctor is like that. Yeah, it's a job. What can you do? And he opens up your brain. Okay? But you're laughing, but a lot of people go to their jobs like this, and it's very dangerous. Maybe drivers go to work like that and they get into accidents and so on. Okay, so that would just be being specific about what your result is. So if you said increase wealth, and that really isn't what your goal is to socialize. So you might say, for example, my result is to increase my health while socializing with my friends. That is the result. That is the specific thing. So if, for example, in this list, the workout doesn't fit that because he's working out by himself, right? Or, drinking water. The only thing that socializing fits is the playing basketball. But if that was the goal, like increase health while socializing, then he could easily say that, go for a walk with my friend who loves to go for walks at lunchtime. You can also be flexible based on what you're actually trying to achieve. And that's the key to being specific. Just like you have an address, right? So if you said, Ottawa, and then you said, downtown Ottawa, and then you said Kent Street. And all of that stuff, Kent Street is downtown, all correct, but it's still very long. And then you said 100 Kent Street. Now you're at a specific location, and you'll get to your destination much faster. But you want to try different things. Sometimes RPMs are good when they're very specific, and sometimes RPMs are better when they're more general. So the generality will give you more flexibility. When it's specific, when you really need to get something done, for example, the people that are giving examples of assignments, to submit assignment, 1 day ahead of time and get, 110% on my mark. That's something very specific, and then making an RPM on that. Okay, sure. So a good example is, what if you do the RPM plan? Like, say Mahmoud does this, and everything's planned out. The result is there, the purpose is there, all the different things, and then the next day he tries his utmost to avoid everything related to increasing health. Right? Totally. Is it purpose? And I would say yes, it is purpose. But it also could be strategy. Okay? So in this example, if your strategy is manual, not automatic. So the example that we said, like when Noor said that I'll stop eating out at restaurants, that's a strategy that, in my assumption, is not going to be very effective. Because people travel, you don't have food with you. It's like, are you going to starve? Or what are you going to do? Right? And then the person has to break it, and once they break it, it's all or nothing. If they break it, then let's break it for the whole weekend. Do you see what I'm saying? So he just needs a better strategy. So you might have your RPM plan, and it's all planned out, but then you might need like a life coach with you, hand in hand, someone that's beside you. So then now you register. So the first step that could get you 80% of the result, and I've done this, like I said, if I want to increase my health, on the top of my list might be, sign up for a personal trainer. Because I know that the strategy, he knows where to take me, and I have my purpose. I can work on my purpose. But when I get lazy, and I've done this, I'm like pushing some weight, and I'm like, I can't. And he's like, Muhammad, don't say that you can't. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a bad word to say. I can't. I can, right? Even for myself, if I'm pushing weights, like based on, every time I say something negative, the trainer will correct me. Okay, so my strategy is different than trying to do it manual. So you might have maybe the wrong massive action plans and may need to get a better strategy. So it doesn't matter how motivated you are. If you're going in the wrong direction, you just go further and further away from it. Allah. If back to we said the question is, what about, you said reading Quran and in the beginning, it's just a to-do list. Don't think too much about it. You want to focus more on what are you actually trying to achieve. So we just gave some examples. For example, loving family, taking care of himself, or personal. So if he had stuff related, he didn't include it, but he'd be like, pray my 5 prayers, read Quran, and do dhikr on my way to, that you could have made a list of those things, and then the result could be to come closer to Allah. So in of itself, like all these items, they come together, and the actual goal is to come closer. And when you think about what are other ways to come closer, work it backwards, and then you'll see there's 100 different ways. So if, for example, he's like return voicemail, return annoying voicemail, all right, tiny voicemail, and we all have stuff like that on our to-do lists. What I would do is, when I do an RPM, and I would write this down, I would say my result is to knock out all my tiny, tedious to-do stuff. That is my result. And it's really fun to do, by the way. So you actually blocked out an hour to do all the petty emails, to respond to all the, tiny voicemails, to get like the little things done, a little signature here, and put a stamp on this and walk out to the post office. It's actually like organized, like small time stuff. And then my purpose when I do that, I'd say, is so that my mind can be clear for the bigger things. And if I can, my whole life is in balance at this point. So even the small stuff, and that's why I said that this is just a box, and you don't want to lock yourself into it. Obviously, there's more to your life. It doesn't mean avoiding all the small stuff. You need to get the small stuff done, but do an RPM for it. My experience with the RPM has been this: if you're really busy, it will work for you. when you actually have like 100 things to do, this is made to chunk it together, like block it together, so that it becomes manageable. If your life is very simple, and usually if you know the mind is all brain constipated, your life is already very simplistic. So this is like getting like Microsoft Excel when you want to add some things. Right? You're like, I have like, what's 5 plus 5? Let's open up Microsoft Excel and make a spreadsheet. And then make the sum of this and then put it in this column. Like, dude, just get a calculator. Right? 5 plus 5 is 10. That's it. Count it on your fingers, correct? So this might be overkill for someone that's only got like 3 things to do in their life. And so realize that you can have your dreams and just start stuffing stuff into it. Just give them like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, and don't think about it, and you might start getting to just start putting in like 50 different things and test this out. Take it for a test drive, this RPM, and see if you can do 50 different things in a single day. And then you start getting excited after that. After you do 50 things, you've done more in like one day than you've done in like your all of last year. And then you're like, that's nice. Do 2 or 3 days like that, and then you can take a week off. Perfect. I actually have like a good example for what the sister's saying is that if you're trying to love your family, back to the going back at 10, sometimes I know between men and women won't tell you exactly what they want. You have to figure it out on your own. Okay, you'll be right sometimes, you're wrong other times. But anyway, this is something, a beautiful, remember we're talking about great questions. Go to someone that you love and you would say to them, I would like to serve you today. What can I do for you? Today I would like you to feel special. What can I do for you to make you feel special? A beautiful question. I love this, and it's like every time I say it, I feel like a gentleman. Right? In the old Victorian gentleman type of way. I would like to serve you today. How can I serve you? And then the person may say, well, I'd really like it if you could call, relative so-and-so and tell them, that you haven't spoken. I'm like, great. So I didn't even think of that, and even remember monkey on the back thing? I put the monkey on their back. So instead of me spending 3 hours trying to figure out and do stuff, at the end of the day they saying like, yo, you didn't even call so-and-so, right? I could have started by saying it to them in the beginning. Okay, so the brother was asking me a question, and that's why I asked him if he was married, because that will make you realize, it made me realize, like, if you said you were married, then I would say that you're talking from experience, but you're not. So you're saying, if you ask someone, I would like to serve you, what can I do for you? And the brother is saying, what if they respond by saying that, you don't even know what I want? And then they create a gridlock. That can happen, but the way you say this in a gentleman type of way, you'll get an answer. I've never had someone say, don't bother me, I don't want. Test it on your mom. It doesn't have to be your wife. Test it on your mother, test it on your father, test it on, people. Even, you might be working in an Islamic organization and you tell someone you've been working with for a long time, say, I'd like to serve you today. Please share with me something. And they'll say, okay, it's a very good question. So let's suppose you have an assignment due on a Friday. And you know that Thursday night you're going to work like heck to get this done because it's due the next day. So how can you get that urgency earlier on so that you can work like heck 2 days before the actual deadline? Here are some things that I've tried in regard, because human beings, we always wait till the deadline. We're always focused, due on Friday. So we just focus on Friday, kind of like the Jummah khutbah thing, right? It's a due on Friday, so I'll wait till Thursday night or Friday morning to actually work on it. Some things that I've done, if for example I'm preparing like a seminar, I would have to submit these papers for somebody's review, and I would tell them, look, this seminar I'm going to be teaching it in March. I'd like to submit this to you in February. February 15th or something like that. Are you available? And they're like, yeah, send it to me February. So I've already made like a deadline for myself earlier to get somebody's review. That's one way I've worked in, and then I work really hard before that review because I want to be with integrity with this person who's going to help me out in this assignment. And you know what? This comes up with regards to like Salah. If you're going for Salah, people have this tendency to be like, when does Salah end? And then they just aim for that time. So if it ends at 4 o'clock, they'll be like, what time is it now? Well, it's not 4 o'clock yet, right? And they just keep going till the end time. So I would say that you make a conscientious effort to aim for, if it was like Salah, aim for 15 minutes before. actually, like, I'm going to submit it. If it was due on Friday, I'm going to submit it to the teacher at Thursday at noon. And then you just, like, delete the Friday deadline and just say that the deadline for me is Thursday afternoon. And just start focusing on it Thursday afternoon, assignment due, and so on. Inshallah ta'ala, it'll reprogram your brain. What's reminding me is, people that kind of like set their watches forward like 10 minutes or something like that. Is it forward or back? They set Okay, so they set it forward so that they're always early for things. And it freaks them out, and then they kind of like, no, I still got 10 minutes and stuff like that, right? Once their mind becomes comfortable being 10 minutes late for everything, then it's like time to, this technique doesn't work. But in the beginning it works. I've noticed for Salah, everybody, like, if you're going to Salah in the masjid, you'll aim for the Salah time. What time is the Iqamah? They'll like say 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock is running through your mind. You're always coming in at 7:10. So if you made your goal, I'm going to go 15 minutes early for every prayer. That is the goal. So what time is Salah? They say 7 o'clock. So that means 6:45 is when I'm going. And then you keep doing that. And then one day when you're late, you'll go at 6:55, but you'll still be 5 minutes early.